Okay, good afternoon. I'm joined today by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, and Cftc Chairman Russ Benham. We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance, and from its founder and CEO, Changpeng Zhao, also known as CZ. Separate from the criminal enforcement actions the Justice Department is announcing today, Secretary Yellen and Chairman Benham will also announce civil regulatory enforcement actions, and the Treasury Department and the CFTC are taking against Binance. While criminal and civil enforcement actions are subject to different legal standards, this collective effort represents the whole of government approach that we are taking to combat corporate crime. Binance has agreed to plead guilty to willfully violating the Bank Secrecy Act, knowingly failing to register as a money transmitting business, and willfully violating the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. These laws ensure that our financial institutions are not available to designated terrorist organizations, drug traffickers, and sanctioned nation states that threaten public safety and our national security. The Justice Department is requiring Binance to pay $4.3 billion in penalties and forfeitures. This is one of the largest penalties we have
Everybody, I'm here. I'll do my intro in just a sec. I want you to hear this real quick.
Ever obtained from a corporate defendant in a criminal matter. The Justice Department is also imposing a monitorship as well as reporting requirements on Binance as part of today's resolution. Moving forward, Binance must file the suspicious activity reports that were required by law. The company is required to review past transactions and report suspicious activity to federal authorities. This will advance our criminal investigations into malicious cyber activity and terrorism fundraising, including the use of cryptocurrency exchanges to support groups such as Hamas. While this historic plea is an important measure of accountability, we know that corporations only act through the individuals who run them. That is why we have also filed a felony charge against and secured a guilty plea from Changpeng Zhao for willfully violating the Bank Secrecy Act. As CEO of Binance, Zhao willfully violated federal law that requires financial institutions to guard against money laundering and terrorist financing. Zhao, who resides outside of the United States, entered his plea in person in the United States District Court for the Western District of Washington earlier today. In August 2017, Zhao founded Binance as a platform where users could trade in cryptocurrency. But from the very beginning, Zhao and other Binance executives engaged in a deliberate and calculated effort to profit from the U.S. market without implementing the controls that are required.
Just remember, though, they let this go on. They've known about this since 2019, 2020, so consider that. They allowed this for so long. So that $4.3 billion that they're paying back in funds, that came from you and I. Just consider that. And fees and whatever.
By U.S. law. Zhao and Binance attracted and built a substantial U.S. customer base. Almost 2 years after Binance's founding, Zhao told senior management that the U.S. market represented 20 to 30% of the company's potential revenue. Serving these U.S. customers meant that Binance was a U.S. financial institution. U.S. financial institutions must comply with U.S. law. Zhao and other senior management at Binance understood this. They understood that the company was required by U.S. law to register with the Treasury Department as a money services business. And they understood that they were required by U.S. law to implement an effective anti-money laundering program. They failed to do either. Instead, they concluded that complying with U.S. law would stifle their efforts to grow Binance's profits, market share, and trading volume. So, rather than comply, Binance facilitated billions of dollars of unregulated cryptocurrency transactions. It willfully enabled hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions between American users and users subject to U.S. sanctions. And its platform accommodated criminals across the world who use Binance to move their stolen funds and other criminal proceeds. Binance prioritized its profits over the safety of...
Okay, let me timestamp this very quickly. Welcome, and everybody, please make sure to hit that like button. It will greatly be appreciated if you could help me push this through the analytics so that we can get more people to see what's going on right now. This is a live press conference. We're just a couple minutes behind. So please make sure to hit that like button and share this on social media. This is one of those very important ones to do. So good mid-afternoon, 3:57 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So I did come on and do another live here. I know we were on earlier where I talked about this, but now that the Department of Justice is officially telling you what I was trying to go over earlier, and this is something I've talked about for years. I've said get out of Binance while you can. The BUSD was nothing more than a scam, and what ZZ was doing would eventually be uncovered. And if I knew about it, like I was saying in 21, we knew the Justice Department, it was just a matter of time before they put an end to it when there was too much heat, and now they've finally done that. If you're on Binance, if you think things are going to be running the same way after a $4.3 billion settlement, think again. By having a settlement and not shutting the exchange down outright, does this mean that this exchange is too big to fail? Is this just like the too big to fail banks? That's something else we have to ask ourselves. And what does that mean in regards for fees if you continue on this exchange? Please make sure to hit that like button. I beg of you on this live, in particular, to hit that like button. Consider sharing this on social media so we can get as many people as possible. Only half of you have hit the like button. If you want to join Tom's Army for the work I put in or send a YouTube super chat, that's on you. It's greatly appreciated, but really all I really need today is for you to hit that like button and share it. You've all blessed me more than you'll ever know just by being here, watching my content. I'll shut up. I'm going to actually smoke some cannabis and relax to this. I appreciate everybody for being here. O. Johnson, George, Call of Eldoran, Explore More, Luminosity, True, and the rest of you. Ron D, Michael, SKS, Matt Holden, Explore More. Everybody, please, please, please. Thank you so much for being here. I won't interrupt anymore unless I find it imperative. I won't talk until right before Janet Yellen comes on and we'll discuss what's going on.
American people. In part because of the crimes it committed, Binance became the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world. Now, Binance is paying one of the largest corporate penalties in U.S. history. Binance employees knew and discussed that the company was serving thousands of users in sanctioned countries. And they knew that facilitating transactions between U.S. users and users in sanctioned countries would be in violation of U.S. law. But they did it anyway. Binance enabled nearly $900 million in transactions between U.S. and Iranian users. And it facilitated millions of dollars in transactions between U.S. users and users in Syria and in the Russian-occupied
Thank you so much, MKP, for the $4.99 donation.
And Luhansk. Binance's own compliance personnel also knew that the company's anti-money laundering procedures were inadequate and would attract criminals to the platform. In a February 2019 chat, one compliance employee wrote that they needed a banner that said, quote, "Is washing drug money too hard these days? Come to Binance. We got cake for you." By failing to comply with U.S. law, Binance made it easy for criminals to move their stolen funds and illicit proceeds on its exchanges. For example, between August 2017 and April 2022, there were direct transfers of approximately $106 million in Bitcoin to Binance.com wallets from Hydra. Hydra was a popular Russian darknet marketplace, frequently utilized by criminals, that facilitated the sale of illegal goods and services. Binance only stopped processing Hydra transactions in April of 2022, when the Justice Department and our criminal law enforcement partners seized control of the Hydra marketplace and shut it down. From February 2018 to May 2019, Binance processed more than $275 million in deposits and $273 million in withdrawals from Best Mixer. Best Mixer was one of the largest cryptocurrency anonymizing services in the world before it was shut down for money laundering. Binance also did more than just fail to comply with federal law. It pretended to comply. In June 2019, Binance publicly announced that it would block U.S. users from Binance.com and launch a separate U.S. exchange. That exchange, Binance.us, would register with the Treasury Department and serve the U.S. market. Binance blocked some U.S. users on Binance.com and redirected them to the U.S. exchange. At the same time, however, Binance continued to allow some of its most important high-volume U.S. users to remain on the unregistered Binance.com exchange. At the direction of Zhao and other senior leaders at Binance, employees encouraged their high-volume U.S. users to conceal their U.S. connections, including by creating new accounts that obscured their locations. As Zhao himself said in a September 2019 chat, quote, "If we blocked U.S. users from day one, Binance will not be as big as we are today. We would also not have had any U.S. revenue we had for the last 2 years." He then added, quote, "Better to ask for forgiveness than permission," close quote. Over a year after Binance publicly announced that it was blocking U.S. users, an internal monthly company report attributed 16% of its total registered user base to the United States. That was more than any other country on the unregulated Binance.com platform. In the next monthly report, Binance removed the United States label and recategorized U.S. users with the label UNKWN, short for unknown. In October 2020, users labeled as UNKWN represented approximately 17% of Binance's registered user base. Binance and Zhao profited significantly from their violations of federal law. That they are facing accountability for their crimes is due to the extraordinary hard work of the extraordinary public servants at the Department of Justice. I want to thank the Criminal Division's Money Laundering and Asset Recovery Section, the National Security Division's Counterintelligence and Export Control Section, and the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Washington for their excellent work. I also want to thank Secretary Yellen and her team at the Treasury Department, including IRS Criminal Investigation, as well as Cftc Chairman Benham and his team for their extraordinary partnership in this matter. In just the past month, the Justice Department has successfully prosecuted the CEOs of 2 of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges in 2 separate criminal cases. The message here should be clear. Using new technology to break the law does not make you a disruptor. It makes you a criminal. This Justice Department has no tolerance for crimes that threaten our economic institutions and undermine public trust in the fairness of those institutions. And we will hold accountable the individuals who commit and profit from them. I'm now pleased to turn the podium over to Secretary Yellen.
Good afternoon. I'm very glad to join Attorney General Garland, Deputy Attorney General Monaco, and CFTC Chairman Benham on such an important occasion. We're here today to announce the Treasury Department's historic action, the largest enforcement action in Treasury's history against Binance, the world's largest virtual currency exchange, for its consistent.
Honestly, what are we thinking so far? It sounds like to me that they've known about this for some time and they've continued to let it go. So, I mean, what do you really make of this? So, I appreciate everybody watching. I just want to show this. I don't want to keep interrupting. That's why I keep taking my picture down. I just want everybody to be able to see this transparently. And now to listen to the rest of the rat's nest here with Janet Yellen. Just be prepared to listen to some more nonsense. Like, literally, this is too much. It's too much. Yeah. Yep, I agree with what everybody's saying. Everybody welcome in too. I'm going to continue to cover this even if it's hard to watch.
and egregious violations of U.S. anti-money laundering and sanctions law. Protecting the U.S. financial
They sure did,
system
CJ2
and
pilot.
through that, the global financial system is core to the Treasury Department's mission. And ever since Binance launched its convertible virtual currency platform, it has
Yes, Gerardo, this is live.
knowingly evaded the U.S. laws designed to protect these systems. Over more than 3 years, FinCEN, OFAC, and IRS criminal investigation thoroughly investigated key aspects of Binance's activities. Our work revealed that Binance claimed to have exited the U.S. market years ago, but actually did not, retaining U.S. users and other significant ties with the United States. It also had critical gaps in its anti-money laundering program and practices, from a lack of risk-based procedures for various offerings to instructing staff to withhold information from law enforcement. It deliberately undermined its own sanctions monitoring controls, and it failed to report suspicious transactions. This meant Binance was allowing illicit actors to transact freely, supporting activities from child sexual abuse to illegal narcotics to terrorism across more than 100,000 transactions. That includes transactions associated with terrorist groups like Hamas's Al-Qassam brigades, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. Binance processed these transactions, but it never filed a single suspicious activity report, and it also allowed over 1.5 million virtual currency trades that violated U.S. sanctions.
My God, ladies and gentlemen, my question is, if this is the case, why did they let it go so far? Well, I'll tell you why. They let them continue to take the funds from U.S. residents, U.S. users, despite breaking the law, so that they could, they could get the money. And no, just figuring, are you talking to me just figuring this out? If that's a comment towards me, I think everybody who watches me would agree and understand. And all you have to do is go back in my portfolio, my archive. I called this out in 20. Oh, yelling. Okay, Michael. Gotcha. But we've been talking about this since 21. The fact that if I knew about it and our community knows about it, how can they let it keep going on? So it seems pretty ominous here that they knew what was going on. So I don't want to keep interrupting. I apologize. Let me play this. I'm going to try to be as unvocal as possible. It's just hard sometimes. I thank everybody for watching. Please hit that like button.
So, we have taken the largest enforcement action in Treasury's history. FinCEN's settlement agreement assesses a penalty of $3.4 billion. OFAC's settlement agreement assesses a penalty of nearly $1 billion. Binance is also required to report the suspicious transactions it has failed to report to date, and to establish an effective anti-money laundering program to support the global AML-CFT regime. And the settlement agreements subject Binance to increased scrutiny for 5 years through a third-party monitor overseen by FinCEN, who will ensure Binance's complete exit from the United States.
Okay, so like we said, too big to fail. Like, this is nonsense. If this was for real, they'd shut them down today. This is all an exuberant. I'm not even going to talk any farther so I don't get banned. Just understand this is an elaborate scheme for the U.S. government to bring in some finances here. Bring in some finances because they can't pay their departments.
The monitor will be able to access Binance's systems, transactions, and accounts, and will review and report on all actions included in the settlement agreements. Failure to live up to these obligations could expose Binance to substantial additional penalties. The result of these agreements will be an end to company behavior that has posed risks to the U.S. financial system U.S. citizens and our country's national security for too long. And let me be clear, we're also sending a message to the virtual currency industry more broadly, today and for the future. If virtual currency...
Guys, just listen. Not just Binance. What does this mean about Coinbase now? You got Coinbase US as well. I mean, anyone that interjected through the means, look at Kraken, they're going. I mean, this doesn't just end here. There's something bigger going on.
The exchanges and financial technology firms wish to realize the tremendous benefits of being part of the U.S. financial system and serving U.S. customers. They must play by the rules. And if they do not, the U.S. government will take action. Today's announcement shows the Treasury is prepared to use all of its tools to carry out its crucial mandate of combating illicit finance and protecting the U.S. financial system, and this will make all of us safer. I want to end by thanking FinCEN, OFAC, and IRS criminal investigation employees who play a central role in protecting our national security. Adequate resourcing was critical to carrying out this work. Thank you also to the partner agencies here today for such...
Directly from, it's on the right corner. I didn't block it with my guys. See how I'm turning? I didn't put it over here so you guys can see it's from CNBC itself. CNBC's live airing this.
Effective collaboration. And with that, I'll turn the floor over to Deputy Attorney General Monaco.
You ready for the most bullshit you've heard all day?
Thank you, Madam Secretary, and good afternoon. Today is a watershed moment. The Department of Justice and its partners are holding accountable the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange and the CEO who ran it for their criminal conduct. Binance vaulted to the top of the crypto market in part through the scheme exposed today by pursuing growth, market share, and profits at the expense of compliance with U.S. law. Today's charges
Good point,
and
Matt.
guilty
Excellent
pleas,
point.
combined with a more than $4 billion financial penalty, demonstrate the Justice Department's commitment to corporate accountability. And they sent an unmistakable message to crypto and DeFi companies.
Hold on. Did they send a message or simply say, make sure you earn more than we're going to find you? So Binance made well over $4.3 billion. Let's be real. By multitudes of that. So what they're saying is you'll get a slap on the wrist and we'll fine you enough to where we'll make out as the Department of Justice where we have some funds on hand now to buy more Bitcoin or whatever the hell we're going to do with it. Screw over the little guy like me and you and just tell the company here's a $4.3 billion settlement and you get an Overwatch for 5 years and we'll work our way out of the U.S. No. If this was serious, it would immediately be void of its license in the USA if it wasn't some government Ponzi scheme. Let's be real here. Let's actually be real. This is a big... I can't talk too much more about this or I will get a strike on YouTube. This is a too big to fail company. Now, this is just like Chase, just like Bank of America, just like all these other banks that are too big to fail. We now know Binance is too big to fail and they're on the government's payroll. That's all you need to know. The only thing you need to see here is that there's nothing to see here. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Welcome in, Miss Vicky.
If you serve U.S. customers, you...
Yes, I'm done talking about it. The Department of Justice is doing a fantastic job. They're doing exactly what they need to do. And we'll let this go on as it is. So I just had to get my own personal feelings out of the way. But that's all I'm going to say. So that's what's going on.
must obey U.S. law. A corporate strategy that puts profits over compliance isn't a path to riches.
Oh, unbelievable,
It's a
Ron.
path to federal
Unbelievable.
prosecution.
The stock market.
As detailed in the statement of facts, Changpeng Zhao was warned by his own compliance team that Binance lacked basic safeguards to prevent users from evading U.S. sanctions. He was warned of the high risk associated with some customers on their exchange. He was even warned that the CFO of another company had been arrested for sanctions violations and that the same thing could happen at Binance. But rather than implement the basic anti-money laundering safeguards that his team recommended, safeguards required by U.S. law, Binance and its founder operated as though the rules didn't apply, as though they were beyond our reach. Crypto assets may be advertised as borderless in nature, but the Department of Justice will enforce U.S. law across and throughout crypto markets, even in their darkest corners. Some say the key to success in the tech sector is to move fast and break things. Today's actions show that if what you break is the law, there will be consequences. Over 5 years, while building its business with U.S. customers, Binance enabled nearly $1 billion in illegal payments involving sanctioned countries and individuals. These actions put our collective security at risk. Today, companies are increasingly operating on the front lines of the geopolitical and national security challenges that mark today's global environment. That's why the Justice Department is focused on the intersection of corporate crime and national security. Today, corporate crime undermines not only our markets and investments.
Oh, what they're not telling you is a lot of these people talking right now are actually invested in each of these different exchanges, just like in the markets. They're always invested in these companies. They say it's not a conflict of interest, but if you and I were doing insider trading, let them throw away the key. Let me stop talking before I get in trouble.
But also our national security. The laws we are enforcing today were designed to protect the security of our financial markets and to protect our financial institutions from exploitation by terrorists and money launderers. Today's actions show that those rules apply equally to traditional financial institutions and those powered by decentralized and cutting-edge technologies. Today's resolutions are the result of and a credit to the combined energy and expertise of prosecutors and law enforcement agents from across the government.
What a shit
In
show.
particular,
This is
I'd
embarrassing.
like to thank Nicole Argentieri, the acting assistant attorney general.
See, this is why I paused it, so that we can skip through all this bullshit. I'm not listening to them think some assholes who don't deserve the recognition. All right, let's see.
I'll turn it over to Chairman Benham.
So we got to skip all that. So that's why we backed it up about a few minutes while we've been playing. So now we can skip through all their thank yous to people that are useless. So next, let's hear the next line of BS. Oh, this guy looks like a
Good
fine
afternoon.
upstanding gentleman.
Thank you, Attorney General Garland, Treasury Secretary Yellen, Deputy Attorney General Monaco, and all of our law enforcement counterparts. Today, the CFTC stands with the Department of Justice and the Treasury Department in protecting U.S. investors and financial markets from those who sought to create an empire through a calculated strategy of regulation.
So basically what they've just admitted to us is they went after Ripple when they did nothing wrong, and they known about an actual exchange, not a crypto, an actual exchange that allows me and you to buy it, Binance. They didn't do anything to Binance for 4 years, and they told you they knew about this in 2019. But yet they go after Ripple, a single entity, and say they're trying to help us. This fuck. I mean, what more do we have to say? You can't make this stuff up. Therefore, we are in an active simulation.
For avoidance and arbitrage, outright defiance of the law, and breaching the fundamental principles of market behavior. Today, the CFTC...
Wait a minute. Yeah, if the CFTC is the one who's imposed this, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, that means the SEC has to end the case with Ripple because of this. You're thinking like, yes, Prana, that's exactly it. They've just acknowledged that the CFTC has oversight, not the SEC. They've established that now. So absolutely, they could go after now and say, hey, there was a chain of command now established, and now the CFTC is taking over the crypto market, which means the SEC is out of its jurisdiction when it comes to the Ripple lawsuit, and they would have to end it immediately. It's all bullshit. I told you guys, this is all a way to allow institutions, when the time's right, and all these other nefarious characters to play. Like I said, XRP is ruled by the wrong people, but we're in the right position at the right time. I don't care that it's the wrong people. When you find so is Bill Gates the wrong one to get behind when you want to invest in Microsoft? Or you guys get what I'm saying here. Was Jeff Bezos the wrong one to invest in Amazon, even though he might be a nefarious? No, you got to find these things before they happen. So what? He took away a bunch of jobs. That it's a big deal, but I'm saying in the grand scale for these people, they say, so what? So you've got to think like them. ETFs are on the corner.
He agreed to resolve charges against Binance, its founder and CEO, Changpeng Zhao, and its former chief compliance officer, Samuel Lim. Binance is the world's largest digital asset exchange and offers trading in spot digital assets and digital asset derivatives.
They're coming,
including
quickly.
CFTC jurisdictional products such as Bitcoin futures, options, and swaps. The proposed orders impose a civil monetary penalty and disgorgement totaling $2.7 billion against Binance, $150 million civil monetary penalty against Zhao, and a $1.5 million penalty against Lim.
$150 million to ZZ. Do you guys know how many billions this guy? This is what I'm talking about. Did he really just say that? What I think he said. The fine to ZZ is $150 million. The guy made billions. Billions. $150 million.
Binance's activities undermine the foundation of safe and sound financial markets by intentionally avoiding basic, fundamental obligations that apply to exchanges, all the while collecting approximately $1.35 billion.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I got to be good. They're doing a fantastic job, and if it wasn't for our government, I don't know how we would have ever stopped this. For the sake of humanity, they have saved us once more, and I bow, and I bow once more to this great chain of command.
In trading fees from U.S. customers. Beyond the risks imposed on the U.S. financial system, Binance's activities impacted populations beyond investors in ways that cannot be measured in dollars and cents. As evidenced by the internal chats of Binance's CCO and others, Binance recognized that its platform was used to facilitate criminal activity, including terrorist financing, but chose to turn a blind eye, all in the name of profits. More disturbing, Binance and its leaders sought to dupe and indoctrinate their employees and customers, building a cult-like following premised on circumventing their own.
Okay, let's say one good thing. At least they're doing it, right? They're telling us the truth right now, no matter if it took a little longer than we would have liked. At least they're putting it out there. So what is the one thing we said? At least do something. At least show us something's happening. At least they're doing their job for once. So there's some credit. How about that?
Compliance controls to maximize corporate profits above all else. As charged in the CFTC complaint filed in March of this year and set forth in the consent order, Binance made deliberate, strategic, and calculated decisions to evade federal law over a period of nearly 4 years. Binance, under Zhao's direction and control, knowing...
I'm sorry, one last thing. Did you hear them mention a side penalty for the users that were duped out of paying overzealous fees when they were buying cryptos, maybe on a unregulated futures trading where they shouldn't even have been able to lose their funds? Are they going to have a side fund for that, for all the people that lost it there? Because what the futures, but what the CFTC is acknowledging is they don't care about the spot trading is what they're basically saying. They care about the futures part of it. So anybody who was able to go on leverage. So do all those people get their leverage? Even if they lost or gained money, do they get their fees back is what I'm saying. Forget the money they lost or gained. That's on them. What about the fees that were able to be collected by the exchange? There should be a side fund put for everybody on Binance so that they can get their fees back from futures trading. If we're being real. That's how punitive damages should be awarded.
And accepted orders from U.S.-based customers to trade digital asset commodity derivatives products and operated an exchange for the trading of futures, options, swaps, and leverage.
I told you, see? How did I know he was going to go the futures route? Because that's the easy way out. So what they're saying is they don't care about anything but the unregulated side with the futures market. Or when they were allowing you like I said, each exchange was putting themselves out there when they were allowing you to get APR. They're allowing you to store your crypto and earn on top of your crypto. That was a recipe for disaster under the CFTC standpoint.
Retail commodity transactions.
Stake, yeah, stake, thank you.
Throughout this time period, Binance never registered with the CFTC as is required under U.S. law.
Fair, civil.
The resolution of the action against Binance and Zhao within just 8 months of its filing solidifies the CFTC's reputation as the proven leader in the civil enforcement space when it comes to digital assets. We are stalwart in ensuring CFTC registrants comply with our statute and regulations, which serve to protect broader financial health, and that directly impacts millions of American investors. Binance failed to diligently supervise its derivatives markets activities and miscarried requirements to implement adequate anti-money laundering, know your customer, and customer identification programs required for certain CFTC registrants. These provisions serve to protect all Americans from those who seek to use the financial markets to facilitate criminal activities, including domestic and international terrorism. As there remain certain classes of registrants who have lesser requirements, I believe our action here underscores what we could accomplish in CFTC markets with broader authority.
Thank you.
American investors, small and large, have demonstrated eagerness to incorporate digital asset products into their portfolios. It is our duty to ensure that when they do so, the full protections afforded by our regulatory oversight are in place, and that illegal and illicit conduct is swiftly addressed. When, as here, an entity goes even further, deliberately avoiding to employ meaningful access controls, intentionally avoiding knowing customers' identities, and actively concealing the presence of U.S. customers on its platforms, there is no...
Thank you for pointing that out. I agree, Ron. And please make sure to hit that like button. We have 148 people in here, only 94 likes. Please hit that like button. You can always circumvent that if you want to send a YouTube super chat or join Tom's Army and join the growing trend, even though not very many people in here right now are part of Tom's Army. But that's okay. The ones that are in Tom's Army right now carry the rest. But please just hit that like button. I would love more people to see this.
No question that the CFTC will strike hard and aggressively. I want to commend the incredible work of Candy Hahn, Joseph Plott, Catherine Paulson,
and again, we'll skip this.
One off-topic question, if you will indulge.
And Principal Deputy Director and Chief Counsel, Gretchen Lowe. Thank you.
One on-topic and one off-topic question, if you will indulge. So on the on-topic, based on the allegations of this,
99 cents.
I'm wondering whether the concern in the industry about the ability of some of these startup companies, some of the smaller companies, to abide by this very costly regulatory and legal.
Yes, Miss Vicky, CZ has already admitted guilt. He already signed and he's already agreed to the felonies. He's in the U.S. He was in person to sign his guilty plea, ironically.
Regimen that the United States requires, whether it will mean that you can't really do virtual currency and have this industry thrive and some of the cutting edge things that Lisa Monaco just mentioned with that very heavy burden of regulatory compliance. I'm wondering whether you have a message.
Oh, just remember, if you're expecting this just to go straight down, just remember, anybody who's in this, the big guys, they got to get out of this. So are they just going to let it fall right now and just fall off the cliff? Or are they going to have one more push, like to where maybe it goes to like 1.010, something weird? Or was that what this was? So if it falls down, I mean, holy moly. Sorry. I'll continue. But I got to go soon, so we'll watch this and then I got to go. It's literally in a weird time of the day for me.
For the industry when it comes to that. And then if I can ask my off-topic question, we're expecting at any moment the Israeli government and some of the other parties to announce an agreement for the release of hostages being held by Hamas. If you can comment on that, and also just what the Justice Department and some of the other agencies that are represented here are doing to respond to the attacks in Israel on October 7th. We know, obviously, the Hamas has had a presence here in the United States, and the concern about how they raise money, including, of course, by cryptocurrency, is something that is on everyone's mind. I wonder what you're doing about that in light of what happened.
All right, let me start with the off topic. I was in a meeting this morning with national security officials, law enforcement officials, and the president regarding fentanyl. And he told the press that his team has been actively negotiating over possibility.
Did he say fentanyl? He would know. He looked. Too much said.
Of bringing home some of the hostages. They thought very close that we were very close to being able to do that, but that he couldn't say anything more at that time, and I also can't say anything more at this time. With respect to the
that time is this time.
Deaths of Americans, we always investigate deaths of Americans, and we are actively investigating the deaths of the Americans using all the tools available to us.
You notice they're always using the tools. They've been investigating this since the 90s. I mean, I'll be dead before they get to it.
We have, I think, as the FBI director said at a recent threats hearing before the judiciary, and as I've said, we are investigating Hamas connections in the United States particularly with respect to financial.
In part of the resolution, Binance, which is the parent holding company, is agreeing to plead guilty.
No
and as part
politics
of that,
here.
we're going to impose a monitor. For 3 years, the company has to enhance its compliance program and to continue to cooperate with the department. So we think it's quite a significant resolution. In addition, the agreement with the company requires Zhao to step down from his role as CEO and prohibits him from any present or future involvement in operating or managing Binance. So we think this is a very significant resolution.
Imagine you made billions of dollars. You only have to pay $150 million in restitution, and your only punishment, besides maybe a slap on the wrist with some fake felonies, is unless they give him jail time, which I doubt, is $150 million. I would be walking out of the hell yeah. It's great. I'm retired. I got all these billions of dollars, and I got to pay you $150 million. Okay.
In what tools do we have, and what should people take away from today? I think that today's actions show that if you serve U.S. customers, you must comply with U.S. law. U.S. financial institutions are the gatekeepers for the safety and security of our financial system. And because Binance served a substantial amount of U.S. customers, it was a U.S. financial institution.
Well, just remember, the difference between FTX and Binance wasn't withholding people's money and putting it somewhere else. That's the big difference. What Sam Bankman-Fried did, this is apples to oranges. That's a different level. He literally was taking the money right out and just taking it and doing whatever he wanted. Binance was still running a company. They just didn't give a crap who was pushing through it, is what the government's saying. They didn't care if terrorists, they didn't care bank robbers, they didn't care who was put criminals. All they needed was the liquidity. This is completely different. But what they did was created a stable coin in BUSD, which is my own theory, so that they could actually have the user funds to keep it going, which to me was the first sign of a Ponzi scheme. So the government really can't grind foul because they allowed that to push through. They had to agree to it. So how did they allow to give them stablecoin clarity? I mean, it makes my head spin.
That was required to comply with anti-money laundering laws. And what those laws say is that Binance had to have an effective anti-money laundering compliance program, including procedures to know its customers and to monitor for suspicious activity. And what happened instead is Binance and Zhao prioritized profit over compliance. And that failure to implement effective AML procedures led Binance to cause U.S. customers to transact with customers in Iran that violated U.S. sanctions.
Treasury.
Oh, I got it. See what this really comes down to? I'll let you guys read between the lines, but you get it. It affects the U.S. dollar's ability to act as the reserve currency. They might as well just say it. Just tell us that. That's all you need to say.
Or CFTC want to? The podium is yours.
Well, just very briefly, I agree with the comments that were just made. We actually have rather strong legal authorities to police this type of activity. virtual currency exchanges are financial institutions. Financial institutions of all sizes are required to comply with AML, CFT, and sanctions obligations that they have. And cryptocurrency or virtual currency exchanges have those obligations as well. And I think today's actions show that we're very serious about enforcing the strong regulations that are already in place to make sure that illegal transactions are not fostered by cryptocurrency.
Believe it or not, BNB is getting ready for a massive, or BNB is getting ready for a big breakout. I told you, this is where they're going to pump it because all the bigwigs know they've got 5 years to get out of it. I'm telling you, if I was a market manipulator, I'd pump the shit out of this right now. I would pump this into oblivion right now. You know why? Because every big institutional guy or everybody who's got a bunch of money, they got to pay them out. They gotta cash them out. This is the government funds. The government people are all invested in, I'm sorry. The people who are keeping us safe are invested in this. So how are they in God's green earth going to have it crash right now? Just think between the lines. Everybody's going short. I predict to go long here.
Entities. This is a regime, just as banks can flourish, meeting these obligations. This is a regime that can support responsible innovation. It's not meant to end cryptocurrency.
Look at this volume that's coming in. What?
But to the extent they occur, it must be consistent with U.S. law.
I'll just say from a market's perspective and distinguishing Secretary Yellen's comments about AML and KYC, I've seen and we've seen gaps in the current regulatory structure around digital assets. I've advocated for filling in some of these gaps, specifically around commodity tokens. And I do think if we're able to do that, obviously with Congress's help, we can prevent these actions from happening and not have to be here after the fact.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. You're getting a quick flush here either way. But I'm saying, in the not so distant future, I could see it flushing out people here. And then by some miracle, from a daily standpoint, by some miracle, maybe it'll flush down to like, I don't know, somewhere down here in the 220s. But by some miracle, somehow, something tells me that by some miracle, this is going to find the volume to push through here. Somehow, some way. You have a death cross here in the weekly, but somehow it's getting supported on it this week. I mean, stranger things have happened, but this in theory should have a massive breakdown here unless they do something. But maybe this was the cash out phase. Maybe they cashed everybody out when it came down to 202, and now this run up to 271 was their way to do it. I just feel like they would still have to come up a little higher, but you know, what do I know? Because most of these people are probably invested back here at $30, you know. So we'll see what happens, but by no means should this even be hanging on by a thread right now with what we just heard. If this was for real, this should have already had a Luna-like drop here of about 75% in minutes.
Some of the traditional tools of registration, surveillance, examinations, they've worked well for decades in the U.S. financial system for both market regulators. And we think those types of tools around digital assets, if improved and expanded, would certainly help in preventing some of these bad actions from happening again in the future.
I don't even know how it's hanging on.
Hello. I had a question both for the DOJ and Treasury. So when it comes to the types of priorities,
aside from the artificial pump, it's right in the rotation still. It's still in the consolidation.
Obviously on digital platforms that commit crimes
big bear
or
flag,
that
maybe.
at least let them happen. We've obviously seen the DOJ bring big cases now against Binance, FTX. Treasury separately has also increasingly taken actions against crypto.
I'm just waiting for this guy to stop talking so I can touch piss us off,
violations.
honestly.
So in light of these actions, having taken
You know,
these
these people
actions
drive me
in the
insane.
market so far, what are your priorities
Yeah,
now,
it's 'cause they lie
both for the
constantly.
DOJ and Treasury going forward when it comes to crypto oversight? Are you thinking of deploying different types of strategies, especially since we're seeing a growing aspect and angle when it comes to national
thanks,
security
Mike. I
concerns
appreciate
beyond, say, a financial stability concern when it comes to these crypto platforms?
Great question. I'm going to let the deputy begin the answer for the Justice Department, and we'll get over to Matt if we need on national security.
God, can they just let us leave already? I feel like I'm in school and they won't let us leave class early.
Thanks very much for the question, Stefania. I mean, first thing I'd say is these are incredibly complicated and resource intensive and time consuming cases. And so we need the resource.
Real quick, for my money, Tony upholds the safest, and I only say that because they're the only crypto exchange I know of that has the licensing to deliver precious metals across the world. And to do that, you have to have a certain standard, and you also can't have artificial liquidity. You have to have real liquidity, and it has to be substantial, not like a normal exchange. That's why with the Uphold, you're going to pay higher user fees on a percentage basis when you buy and sell. That's how they're legitimately making their money to run the exchange. And by the fees on spot pricing when they deliver the gold. So just consider that. So that's why I always put up, like, while we can FEMEX, or while we've always been able to MEXC at least if you already have them, and I'm still looking actively for other ones, but that's why I show ways to get less spot fees and then just send it over to Uphold if you can. You know, and if you have the funds on Uphold, you can find ways to send it over to other exchanges via different ways, even if it has to be in Tether or whatever, and just pay a $20 fee. And just that's one way I do it, and that's how I've saved so much instead of in 2021.
And we're willing to and have, as we've shown today and in prior cases, deploy those resources. So we're always looking to add our resources and agent investigators, prosecutors. Second thing I'd say is you have seen both with our actions today and in prior cases that we will be relentless in using every tool that we currently have to deploy against those who seek to use technologies in a way that abuse those platforms, that cause the or don't prevent the use of those platforms for illicit activities. But we always want to make sure that we're working with Congress and others to make sure those tools that we have today stay up to date. Right, we know that the bad guys and the threat actors will try to exploit every crack and crevice they can to exploit technologies, to exploit gaps in the law. You've heard the CFTC chairman talk about some of the tools he needs. So we want to make sure the existing laws stay up to date. And then I think we very much want to work with those in Congress and others who want to ensure that we can deploy every tool possible to make sure that the technologies that can help our prosperity and help our financial system also aren't ripe for abuse by illicit actors. That's why you've seen us do things like create the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. That's why, and Matt Olson can speak to this, that's why they created the National Security Cyber Unit. Because what we're seeing is more and more convergence of the exploitation both of the financial system and corporate crime in the national security space. I think I'll ask Matt to come up, and I'm sure Treasury Secretary Yellen might want to speak to this as well.
Thank you, Lisa. I would just say briefly that as we respond to the nature of the threats we see today around the world, whether we're talking about terrorism, we're talking about nation-state adversaries like Russia and China and Iran, we are increasingly using our tools, sanctions enforcement, export control enforcement, cybersecurity from nation-state adversaries. We're increasingly seeing the ability to use the tools that we have in the Justice Department from a law enforcement perspective to better protect the country by going after those threats, using those tools in new and innovative ways. So to your question, we are constantly adjusting our approach and our priorities to meet that threat on a daily basis, and I think this case is just one more example of that.
You criticized me breaking one shell.
Well, I would just add that I think what the case today shows is that Treasury's priority is to vigorously pursue investigations that involve sanctions violations or violations of AML CFT obligations that put our nation at risk, that degrade the global financial system, that aid illicit activity and terrorism, and particularly in cases like this where there are violations of a truly egregious nature. So as I've said, well, of course, we want to make sure that our tools stay up to date and are adjusted so that we can address emerging threats. We believe we have strong tools, and we've been increasingly deploying them to counter this type of abuse.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, that's fine. I only need to be in for about 5 minutes. I'll pull them out at 4:51.
What time is it?
Oh my God, did they finally do this? All right, everybody, thank you for watching with me. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you appreciate what I do. Hit that like button here, and make sure you come back if you want to watch the XRP technical analysis around like 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know how long we'll be on, since I just did this hour live that I was not expecting to, but I felt like we all needed to see this. If you appreciate the time I put in, consider joining Tom's Army. I would greatly appreciate that. But anyhow, have a good one. Thank you all for watching.